Hello everyone and welcome back to Stamps Old World UK. Today we are exploring a beautiful and historic stamp featuring Queen Elizabeth II and the words British Monarchy. This elegant purple stamp is a wonderful example of how postage stamps can capture both national identity and royal heritage in a small but meaningful design. At first glance, this stamp immediately attracts attention because of its striking purple color and simple yet powerful portrait of Queen Elizabeth II. The design features a young image of the Queen along with the royal cipher E2R, which stands for Elizabeth II Regina. Regina is the Latin word for queen. This royal symbol appeared on many official British items during Queen Elizabeth II's reign and became recognized throughout the world. The British monarchy has played an important role in the history of the United Kingdom for centuries. Stamps featuring members of the royal family are among the most popular collecting areas in philately. Since Queen Elizabeth II reigned for more than 70 years, her portrait appeared on thousands of stamp issues across Britain and the Commonwealth. As a result, collectors have a vast and fascinating range of material to study and collect. This particular British monarchy stamp celebrates the institution of monarchy itself rather than focusing solely on postal use. The design combines royal symbolism with modern graphic elements, creating an attractive stamp that appeals to both stamp collectors and royal memorabilia enthusiasts. The crown symbol shown on the stamp represents continuity, tradition, and the constitutional role of the monarchy within British society. One of the reasons collectors enjoy royal-themed stamps is that they connect directly to major historical events. Throughout Queen Elizabeth II's reign, Britain experienced dramatic social, political, technological, and cultural changes. Yet the image of the Queen remained a familiar presence on stamps, coins, banknotes, and official documents. For many people around the world, Queen Elizabeth II became one of the most recognizable figures of the 20th and 21st centuries. Now let's discuss value. The market value of a Queen Elizabeth II British monarchy stamp depends on several factors. These include condition, whether the stamp is mint or used, printing quantity, demand among collectors, and whether it was issued as part of a commemorative set. Most modern commemorative royal stamps are affordable and typically sell for between $100 and $900 individually. Complete sets, presentation packs, first-day covers, and special editions often command higher prices. Collectors should always examine perforations, color quality, centering, and gum condition when evaluating a stamp. Mint examples with original gum and no damage generally bring stronger prices than heavily handled or damaged copies. Special editions, limited printings, and unusual varieties may be worth considerably more. The popularity of Queen Elizabeth II collectibles has increased in recent years because of her extraordinary historical significance. Many collectors now seek stamps that commemorate different stages of her reign. As demand continues, certain royal issues have become increasingly desirable among philatelists and royal memorabilia collectors. Beyond monetary value, stamps like this offer something even more important. They preserve history. Every royal stamp tells a story about the nation that issued it and the era in which it was created. They serve as miniature historical documents that future generations can study and appreciate. For beginners, royal-themed stamps provide an excellent entry into the world of collecting. They are widely available, historically significant, visually attractive, and supported by extensive catalog information. Whether your interest is British history, the monarchy, postal history, or stamp investment, Queen Elizabeth II issues offer countless opportunities for exploration. The British monarchy stamp featuring Queen Elizabeth II stands as a tribute to one of the most remarkable reigns in modern history. Its elegant design, royal symbolism, and historical significance ensure that it remains a valued piece in many collections around the world. Next up, the Queen Elizabeth II Postage Revenue 11D stamp. This beautiful stamp is a favorite among collectors of British philately and represents an important period in the postal history of the United Kingdom. If you have this stamp in your collection or recently discovered one in an old album, you may be wondering about its history, rarity, and market value in today's collector market. In this video, we will explore everything you need to know about the famous 11D postage revenue stamp featuring Queen Elizabeth II. The Queen Elizabeth II 11D stamp belongs to the Wilding series, one of the earliest definitive stamp issues of Queen Elizabeth II's reign. Following her accession to the throne in 1952, a new series of stamps was needed to replace those featuring King George VI. The result was the famous Wilding design, named after photographer Dorothy Wilding, whose portrait of the young queen became the basis for these iconic stamps. The 11D denomination was introduced to meet specific postal rates during the 1950s and early 1960s. At the time, the British postal system used pounds, shillings, and pence. The denomination, 11D, stood for 11 old pence. Before decimalization in 1971, British stamps used this traditional currency system, which is now an interesting historical feature for collectors around the world. One of the most recognizable features of the stamp is the inscription, postage revenue. Many collectors are curious about these words. A postage revenue stamp was valid for both postal and revenue purposes, meaning it could be used either to pay postage or certain government fees and taxes. These dual-purpose stamps were common throughout Great Britain and many parts of the British Empire. This unique feature adds extra historical interest to the 11D issue. The Queen's portrait on the stamp shows a young Elizabeth II during the early years of her reign. The design reflects the optimism and elegance of post-war Britain. The detailed portrait, decorative frame, and rich colors make the Wilding stamp some of the most attractive definitive issues ever produced by the British Post Office. Now let's discuss one of the most important topics for collectors, value. The market value of a Queen Elizabeth II postage revenue 11D stamp depends heavily on condition, watermark variety, centering, cancellation quality, and whether the stamp is mint or used. Most ordinary used examples are relatively common because millions were printed and used across the United Kingdom. As a result, many examples sell for only a few dollars. Collectors frequently find ordinary used copies valued between $1 and $5 depending on condition. Current collector listings often show examples around a few pounds or dollars. However, not all 11D stamps are equal. Certain watermark varieties are considerably more desirable than standard issues. Experienced collectors carefully examine watermarks because some scarcer varieties can command much higher prices. Stamp collectors on philatelic forums have noted that specific watermark types may sell for around £10 or more when properly identified and preserved. Condition remains the most important factor. A mint stamp with original gum, bright color, and perfect perforations will always attract more interest than a heavily cancelled or damaged example. Collectors pay close attention to tears, creases, thin spots, fading, and missing perforations. Even a small defect can significantly reduce value. Another area of interest is postal history. An 11D stamp still attached to an original envelope or cover may be more desirable than a loose stamp. Postal covers provide evidence of actual usage and can tell fascinating stories about postal routes, rates, and historical communication. Many advanced collectors actively seek commercial covers bearing Wilding stamps from specific periods. The popularity of Queen Elizabeth II collectibles has remained strong among collectors worldwide. Her reign lasted more than 70 years, making her one of the most important figures in modern philatelic history. Stamps featuring her portrait continue to attract collectors from Britain, Europe, North America, Asia, and many Commonwealth countries. For anyone who owns a Queen Elizabeth II postage revenue 11D stamp, it is worth checking the watermark, condition, and printing details before estimating its value. While most examples are modestly priced, specialist varieties can be much more desirable. A careful examination may reveal features that are overlooked by casual collectors. The 11D postage revenue stamp is more than just a piece of paper. It is a historical artifact from a fascinating era of British history. It represents the early years of Queen Elizabeth II's reign, the pre-decimal currency system, and a postal network that connected millions of people across Britain and around the world. Next up, the Queen Elizabeth II 2p stamp. At first glance, this small green stamp may look ordinary, and many collectors pass over it without a second thought. However, the story behind this stamp, its history, varieties, and collector value make it a fascinating piece of British philatelic heritage. The Queen Elizabeth II 2p stamp belongs to the famous Machin series, one of the most successful and longest-running definitive stamp designs in the world. The design was created by the renowned British sculptor Arnold Machin and first appeared in 1967. Featuring a simple yet elegant portrait of Queen Elizabeth II, the Machin design became an iconic symbol of British postal history and remained in use for decades. Millions upon millions of these stamps were printed and used across the United Kingdom, making them instantly recognizable to collectors worldwide. The 2p denomination became especially important after the United Kingdom adopted decimal currency in 1971. During this period, the 2p stamp was used for a wide variety of postal services and frequently appeared on everyday mail. Because of this heavy usage, many examples survived, but finding perfect examples in exceptional condition can still be challenging. One of the reasons collectors enjoy the Queen Elizabeth II 2p stamp is the enormous number of varieties that exist. Different printings, shades of green, phosphor bands, perforations, printers, and paper types create a surprisingly complex collecting field. What appears to be the same stamp to a beginner may actually represent a different variety sought after by specialist collectors. Over the decades, several printing companies produced Mackin stamps, resulting in subtle differences that experts carefully study and catalog. The portrait itself is one of the most famous images ever used on a postage stamp. Arnold Mackin's design was admired for its simplicity and elegance. Unlike many other stamp designs filled with decorative elements, the Mackin series focuses almost entirely on the Queen's profile and the denomination. This minimalist approach helped create a timeless design that remained popular for generations. Now let's talk about market value. This is the question most collectors ask when they discover a Queen Elizabeth II 2p stamp in an old album, envelope, or inherited collection. The reality is that most standard-use 2p Mackin stamps are very common and usually sell for only a few cents. Many catalog references and collector markets value ordinary used examples at less than $1 because of the huge quantities that were printed. Mint examples in excellent condition generally command slightly higher prices, especially if they remain attached to original booklets or complete panes. Specialized varieties, unusual phosphor band configurations, printing errors, missing colors, or scarce production types can be worth significantly more. Some rare Mackin errors have sold for hundreds of dollars because collectors actively seek unusual production mistakes. In today's collector market, a typical used Queen Elizabeth II 2p Mackin stamp often sells for between 10 cents and $1. Well-preserved mint examples may sell for $1 to $5 depending on condition and variety. Scarcer specialist varieties can reach $20, $50, $100, or much more if they possess rare characteristics verified by experts. Condition remains the most important factor. Collectors look for bright color, sharp perforations, clean surfaces, and strong centering. A stamp with tears, creases, stains, or heavy cancellations will generally have a lower market value. On the other hand, a perfectly preserved example can attract strong interest from collectors seeking high-quality additions to their collections. Another important factor is postal history. A single 2p stamp on a commercial cover from an interesting period may be more desirable than the loose stamp itself. Covers help tell the story of how stamps were actually used and provide valuable historical context. Many advanced collectors actively search for genuine commercial mail-bearing Mackin stamps from specific periods and postal rates. The Queen Elizabeth II 2p stamp also represents a remarkable era in British history. During its years of use, Britain experienced social, technological, and economic changes that transformed the nation. Through all of these developments, the familiar profile of Queen Elizabeth II remained a constant presence on letters traveling throughout the country and around the world. For new collectors, the 2p Mackin stamp offers an excellent opportunity to learn about stamp identification. By studying different shades, perforations, phosphor bands, and printing methods, collectors can develop valuable philatelic skills while building an affordable collection. Many experts began their collecting journey with common Mackin stamps before moving on to rarer and more specialized issues. Even though most Queen Elizabeth II 2p stamps are not extremely valuable, their historical importance should never be underestimated. They are part of one of the greatest definitive stamp series ever produced and remain an essential area of study for collectors of British stamps. Every stamp tells a story, and the humble 2p Mackin is no exception. Next up, the Queen Elizabeth II, the famous €5 denomination stamp. If you are a stamp collector, investor, history enthusiast, or simply curious about rare postal treasures, then this video is for you. Stay with me until the end because we will discuss the history of the stamp, its design, printing details, rarity factors, collector demand, and most importantly, its market value in today's dollars. The world of stamp collecting is filled with remarkable stories, and Queen Elizabeth II stamps hold a special place among collectors. For more than 70 years, Queen Elizabeth II appeared on countless stamps issued across the United Kingdom and many Commonwealth countries. Her image became one of the most recognized portraits in postal history. Every stamp bearing her portrait tells a story about a particular era, a nation's culture, and the changing world around it. The €5 Queen Elizabeth stamp is particularly interesting because it represents a high denomination issue that was created for important postal services and premium mail rates. High-value stamps often attract collectors because they were printed in lower quantities compared to everyday postage stamps. Many were used on parcels, registered mail, or international correspondence, making genuinely well-preserved examples more difficult to find today. When examining the design of the Queen Elizabeth €5 stamp, collectors immediately notice the elegance and dignity of the Queen's portrait. The image reflects the classic style that made Elizabeth II one of the most depicted monarchs in philatelic history. The engraving, color selection, typography, and overall layout demonstrate the craftsmanship of modern stamp production. Every detail was carefully chosen to ensure security, visual appeal, and national representation. One reason collectors love Queen Elizabeth stamps is the extraordinary historical significance behind them. Elizabeth II witnessed and guided the United Kingdom through decades of change. Her reign extended from 1952 until 2022, making her the longest-reigning monarch in British history. During this period, countless commemorative and definitive stamps were issued. As a result, collectors can trace history itself through these postal artifacts. Now let's discuss rarity. Many people assume that every old stamp is valuable, but that is not always true. Stamp value depends on several factors including condition, printing quality, centering, gum condition for unused examples, cancellation type for used examples, scarcity, demand, and market trends. A stamp that appears common may become highly desirable if it contains a printing error, color variation, perforation difference, or limited production quantity. For the Queen Elizabeth €5 stamp, condition is absolutely critical. Collectors are willing to pay significantly more for examples with bright colors, sharp perforations, no creases, and excellent preservation. Stamps that remain in mint condition with original gum are often valued more highly than heavily used examples. Professional grading and certification can also increase confidence among buyers and sellers. Another important factor affecting value is whether the stamp exists as a single issue, part of a complete set, or attached to original postal covers. First-day covers, registered mail pieces, and commercial postal usages often attract specialized collectors. In some cases, a stamp on original postal cover can be worth more than the same stamp sold separately because it preserves historical postal evidence. Now let's move to the question everyone is waiting for. What is the market value of the Queen Elizabeth €5 stamp today in US dollars? The answer depends greatly on the exact issue, country of origin, condition, and rarity characteristics. Common used examples generally sell between $2 and $10 US. Better preserved mint examples often range from $10 to $40 US. Scarcer varieties, special printings, limited editions, or certified premium quality examples can sell for $50, $100, or even several $100s depending on collector demand and auction results. In recent years, interest in Queen Elizabeth II collectibles has increased significantly. Following the end of her historic reign, many collectors around the world began seeking stamps, coins, banknotes, and commemorative items featuring her portrait. This growing demand has strengthened prices for certain issues, particularly those in exceptional condition or with unique characteristics. Collectors should remember that stamp values fluctuate over time. Market demand, economic conditions, auction activity, and collector interest can all influence prices. A stamp worth $20 today could be worth more or less in the future. Therefore, collectors should focus not only on potential investment value but also on the enjoyment and historical significance of building a meaningful collection. When evaluating a Queen Elizabeth €5 stamp, it is wise to compare recent auction sales, dealer listings, and specialized stamp catalogs. Catalog values provide useful guidance, but actual selling prices may vary. Professional authentication is recommended for any stamp believed to be rare or exceptionally valuable. One fascinating aspect of stamp collecting is that every stamp has traveled through history. Imagine the letters, documents, and parcels that may have carried these stamps across countries and continents. Each piece represents communication between people, businesses, families, and governments. This connection to the past is one reason Philately continues to attract collectors of all ages. The Queen Elizabeth era produced some of the most beautiful stamps ever issued. From definitive issues used in daily postal service to elaborate commemorative releases celebrating major events, her portrait became a symbol recognized around the globe. The €5 denomination stands as an example of both postal utility and collectible appeal. Many experienced collectors recommend storing valuable stamps in archival quality albums, stock books, or protective mounts. Proper storage helps prevent damage from humidity, sunlight, dust, and handling. Preservation is essential because even minor defects can significantly affect market value. For beginners entering the hobby, Queen Elizabeth stamps provide an excellent starting point. They are widely available, historically important, visually attractive, and supported by extensive collector literature. Whether you collect by country, denomination, theme, or historical period, there is always something new to discover. As the years pass, stamps become more than simple postal labels. They become historical artifacts, cultural symbols, and tangible connections to important moments in world history. The Queen Elizabeth €5 stamp is a perfect example of how a small piece of paper can carry tremendous historical and collectible significance. Thank you for watching today's video on Stamps Old World UK. If you enjoyed learning about the Queen Elizabeth €5 stamp and its current market value in US dollars, make sure to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications so you never miss our latest stamp discoveries, rare stamp valuations, auction highlights, and collector guides. Let me know in the comments if you own this stamp and what condition it is in. I would love to hear about your collection. Until next time.